The scene unfolds with Taeha asking Gray if he is an information merchant. Gray exclaims that, to be exact, he is a wholesaler of information. He hands over the unprocessed sources or less fact-checked information to customers. He reveals that information merchants, fixer-broker, and Yoido's financial sectors are his customers. He almost died after being caught in a trap because people thought he was an information merchant. Taeha tells him that he must be the guy that was being held at Ah Holdings that day. He asks him if he find him just by his face. Gray compliments himself and tells him that he deserves some kind of award for being a youngest information merchant. Taeha looks at Gray's skateboard and asks him if some days have been passed since they came here. Gray tells him that it's been 4 days. Meanwhile, Taeha regrets that he slept for too long. Then he asks Gray to find a person. Gray exclaims that he was lucky enough that he found Taeha, and also, he needs other information merchants to do something like that, and obviously it would cost him a lot of money. Gray tells Taeha that if he thinks about the medical expenses, then it's right for him to grant him a favor first. Taeha asks him, "So you can't help me?" He wasn't ready, so Taeha exclaims that he has no choice, and he takes his coat that was hanging on a door and thanked him for his help. However, he tells him that after he is done with his work, he will definitely reward him. Taeha leaves the room, and Gray asks him, "Hold on, you are leaving in that condition?" Taeha tells him that his work is still not done yet. He tells him to not get involved with him, because next, he just won't be kidnapped, and it could be worse. He comes out of room and notices a pig stench and thinks if it's a restaurant. Aunt Nana tells Taeha that he should not move like that in this condition because he was hit by a .22 caliber bullet, but she was luckily able to stitch him up. But if he moves recklessly with a broken rib, a bone might fly out, and if that happens, even a doctor could not save him. Taeha appreciates her work and tells her that he will compensate her later. She says that she is not a doctor, she is the owner of a rice soup restaurant, so don't blame her if his stitches suddenly open. The scene shifts to Taeha. He comes out of the restaurant and notices that it's market. Suddenly a phone in his jacket rings and he realizes that it's not his phone. He picks up the call and it was Gray. He exclaims that the phone was broken because it fell from such a high place. However, this phone is the same model, so just use it. He also tells him that there is something else in his pocket. It's an earphone. Use it. He tells Taeha that an earphone is connected to the mobile with Bluetooth, so it can't be used from far away. The highest button on the shirt is also a camera, so don't cover it if you can. Taeha again reminds him that he should not get involved with him or else he will be dead. He asks him, "Why? Because you killed the entire Cheonggu family." It's not surprising. Even though it's Korea, he can't hide after causing such chaos. While he passed out, the entire country was turned upside down because of the news that the entire Cheonggu family died because of a terrorist. Taeha asks him, "And yet you still want a favor from me?" Gray announces that this place is Jongso District 3 Dong, a ceasefire zone where Cheonggu and Oseong faction had a bloody fight over the development. He reveals that the Cheonggu and Oseong faction can never get inside this area, but instead there is another problem, so they can't live peacefully. Gray tells Taeha that he said that it's urgent, so he will do him a favor first, but once it's done, do him a favor too. Until then, don't lose contact with him. He can't compromise any further, or else he does not have any choice but to call Cheonggu. Taeha was ready to accommodate him and says, "Then let's see your skills." The scene shifts to Taeha, where he enters in vault number 2 and opens his safe. However, on the other side, Gray says, "So there's a private safe company in Seoul. What if he gets tracked down?" Taeha tells Gray that the principle of these private safes is trust, so they never work with any other companies. Most people who use this kind of place are very secretive, so it's safer to hide stuff in these kinds of places. Gray was looking on his computer and thinks that fake passports, bundles of dollars, and even a white bulletproof vest, those are enough items to undercover. But why are there no guns? He questions himself. He saw one kinfei, but there is no way Taeha is going to fight with just that. The scene shifts to Taeha. He was not feeling well and feels that his body is getting heavier. It's hard to maintain his expression, even just by walking. It feels like his body is being stabbed. He remembers an old day when Regina used to beat him. Then he asks Gray about the person he talked about earlier. Gray asks Kim Pil-jong, the CEO of the Moving at Night company. He asks Taeha, you said that he is the broker that helped you get to Korea, right? It's said that he was active in Europe, then came to Korea a few years ago and became famous in an instant. After confirming with other information merchants, it seems that he is searching for a smuggling ship to China. Because you killed the entire family of Cheonggu, the supervision is getting stricter, so even a smuggling broker can't leave. Taeha takes his dagger and tells Gray to tell those information merchants to say that there is one ship and give them 10 times the amount of money, and he will give them all the money, so don't worry. Gray asks Taeha about what he is going to do once he meets him. He is not trying to escape with him, right? Taeha announces that he will kill him. Taeha tells Gray that the reason why he almost died that day is because someone spread the information that he was going to go. And the only guy who knew that he was coming Korea was that guy. A traitor must die, even if it's my friend for 10 years. The scene shifts to Kim Pil-jong heading towards the church. He knocks at the door and exclaims, "Father, I have something to say." Father responds, "Everyone leads water to their own mill." Kim enters in the room and gets scared. He asks Father, why does he have to meet in this sacred place? Even so, he is Catholic. Father asks him about the money. He shows his bag and says 100 million won, $100,000. It's more profitable if you exchange it. He says, by the way, information merchant, I understand, but this country is full of fraud. So, I can't trust people easily. It is shown that it was Taeha who was acting as a father all the way. Gray tells him that it's dangerous, there are people outside. People holding bats enters in church. Kim asks Taeha that it's been a few years since he came to Korea, but how he gets a ship that even an escape broker does not know about? Tell him the exact route. If he fails to gain his trust, he dies. Isn't that the base rule? Taeha asks him that, then it means he must be ready to follow the rules too. Taeha says, "You must have lost your senses, Pil-jong. I can't believe you can't even recognize your friend's voice." Kim gets scared and asks him, how did he? He clearly died that day. When Kim realizes that he can't escape the reality, he tries to give a lame reason. He says that he is an idiot. He can't believe that he didn't find out even the password was an Italian proverb. It's a gambling. He lost everything because of that, and came to Korea, but he could not fix that habit. In Gangwon province, he fell into a gambling debt of hundreds of millions in a gambling house under Cheonggu. He does not know, he only told them the date of his arrival in Korea. He tries to pull out his gun, but Taeha breaks a window and stabs in his neck and kills him. However, the men standing outside heard the noise. On the other hand, Gray was looking through the camera and shouts, "Are you crazy? Broken arms, broken ribs, bullet wounds. You are going to fight in that condition where it's hard to even walk." Taeha comes out of the room and tell those men that if Pil-jong tell you to not bring any guns, so that they won't make a noise in the church. He says, "Pray before I come to you guys, because you will go to see God soon." The chapter unfolds where the fight was about to start, and Taeha tells those guys that it does not matter if they are Kim's subordinates or hired men. They are using a knife and bat against one person, that means they came here to kill him. So there is no reason for Taeha to hold back. Those guys taunts Taeha and exclaims that there is a money in the confession booth. They all charges towards him. However, Taeha was unfazed and wasn't scared at all. Meanwhile, Gray was watching him through his laptop and thinks that it's not just his arm that's injured. His ribs were also fractured due to the gunshot. What is he planning to do? Taeha easily kills those men using his skills. However, there were too many of them. So, Taeha was ready to kill them all, and thinks, if he crushes them in the beginning, some unexpected events are bound to happen. They can't just run away because the 200 million won is right in front of them. So, they are just fighting with the adrenaline they have managed to bring out. And between all of them, there is always someone who brings something that they were not supposed to. Taeha exclaims that, if he uses his leg, then he only has one chance, and he kills the guy who was holding a gun. Everyone was shocked. The scene shifts to Gray, who is sitting in the car outside the church. He questions himself. What the hell did he just saw? How can two people be so different? He even has an injury. Suddenly Taeha asks if he is there, and tells him that there is a money in the bag inside the confession booth. It's a bit hard for him to move, so please take it. Gray tries to play innocent. So Taeha tells him that he already knows that he is nearby because he told him earlier that there were people outside. Gray agrees and enters the church. However, he notices that Taeha was sitting on a bench and tells him to go ahead and take the money. As Gray walks towards the bag of money, he was scared because there were too many dead bodies were laying there. Gray sits beside Taeha and tells him that he called Cole, so he will be here in 10 minutes. He notices that Taeha was not feeling well, so he tells him to hold on a bit longer, and he asked Ajuma to get some medicine. Taeha destroys his phone and tells him that when he came to his senses, everything was changed flawlessly. His clothes and phone were different, but strangely enough, he was still wearing his gloves. Taeha asks Gray that he already knows him, right? Gray realizes that he can't hide anything anymore. So, he starts speaking that Taeha is the third son of the late chairman Jin Seoko of Cheonggu Group, and the killer known as Vendetta, an Asian man in his 20s or 30s from the Salerno family in Italy. Talks RP, a transitional organization reward program. A wanted person with a bounty of 5.5 billion won. Further, he exclaims that he was not going to tell anyone, even Ajuma does not know either. He was not going to say anything as long as he listened to his favor. Taeha asks him if the favor was that important that he put his life on the line and ignored bounty. He agrees and tells him that he does not know how hard it is to live hiding from Cheonggu Group. Taeha shuts him and tells him that the reason why he can't be an information wholesaler, even though he has all the equipment, the reason why he did not even hesitate to intervene, even though it's looked down upon among information wholesaler, was all probably because he needed experience, since that's the reason why information wholesalers are typically quite old. Taeha asks him if he want to play on the bigger field. He tells him, when he goes inside, don't do anything other than asking questions. The scene shifts to the two men walking with each other, and one tells other that he will take care of everything. Another guy tells him that he won't taint the Oseong faction's reputation. They both enter the room and Gu apologize for being late. The scene shifts back to Taeha, telling Gray that if he works with him, he will make him the best information seller, although he has to put his life on the line for this work. But there won't be huge risk, because his work is to only sell information, and Taeha exclaims that he will crush his friend once again.